Hey friends, so welcome back to DBC Live. We are streaming from Facebook and also on YouTube. I am Tara Martin, your host, and we have Joe Clark, Dr. Joe Clark here today. He is amazing, and I'm so grateful that he took time out of his super busy life as a superintendent to join us and to talk a little bit about some great ideas. Remember, on this show, we just share something we feel like will inspire and help others to make their work more enjoyable or work smarter, not harder, whatever it is, build relationships. But we hope that everything that you gain from the show is something you could apply and do at any time, any year. And that's why we store it on YouTube. So if you're ever interested in kind of catching up on all the PD Lives, you can go there and find the big long list of them. But I won't get too much into that. I do want to remind you that every comment over in the comment section will enter you to win a copy of Joe's book. And before I elaborate on how amazing it is, I want Joe to formally introduce himself. Tell us a little bit about what you do, Joe, and what your life is like tonight. I know you just got through reading to kids, so that's so awesome. He's a superintendent. He still reads to his students. I love that. So tell us a little bit about what you do and where you're from, Joe.
Yeah, I do. So I'm Joe Clark. I'm the superintendent of the Nordonia Hills City School District. Nordonia is not a place. It's a conglomeration of a couple municipalities. We're about midway between Cleveland and Akron in Ohio, where we had 2 inches of snow today. It was 70 degrees 2 days ago. I was outside in shorts. Today we had 2 inches of snow. And I'm a superintendent. I've been a superintendent for 10 years, 29th year in education. I was a English teacher, principal, middle school, high school, personnel guy, all that sort of thing. Also, I mean, where my book comes from, I did a lot of other wild stuff in my life. Most interesting about me is I'm the youngest of 11 kids, so that gives me a ton of stories. But also, I was a DJ for about 24 years, weddings, parties, and school dances, and a camp director for 10. So all of that gave me a bunch of stories that I put in my book. If the dance floor is empty, change the song.
I love it. I love it. And this book is so incredible. So, Joe, I hate to pause us for a minute, but I'm getting messages on the side that they cannot, they can't hear one of us. So let's see what's happening.
Okay.
And I'm not seeing any comments. So we could have to start over. If we do, it's no big deal. It's 2020, 2021. I mean,
yeah.
we're familiar with this, right?
Yep.
I guess we can just start over. I do see that 4 people are able to see it, though. Guys, if you can see it, can you put something in the comments? Oh, perfect.
Comment.
All right, Sean is in the house.
Hey, Sean's here. Awesome.
Thank you that we don't have to start it over. The weather pattern reminds me of his book when he talks about the no-win situation that snowfall brings for superintendents. Okay.
You know, it's true. In my career, I've never had a parent call and complain about academics. It's snow days and what they say, beans, basketballs, and buses. Those are the things people complain about.
I love it. Love it. Oh my goodness. So Joe, if the dance floor is empty, change the song. I love the idea of that just in life, you know, not even in education. I feel like there's so many parts about your book that relates to the life, like in general. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were hoping the readers would gain from your book? Because everyone over in the comment section will have an opportunity to win one. So I would love for you to share just, you know, what you're hoping the readers would gain from your book.
Well, yeah, and that's what I like. I like my book, and I really like it because it is very, it's conversational. It's a lot of stories. There's no research in it. There's no citations. It is stories of Joe and his career and how that impacts, you know, not just education, but you're right, life. And the title, If the Dance Floor is Empty, Change the Song, comes from when I first started DJing, and I would be at a wedding, you know, and the dance floor would be empty, and I'd be sitting around complaining about the audience. Oh, this is the worst audience ever, until it came to mind that, you know, that's my fault, right? It's my fault. If the dance floor is empty, change the song. Quit blaming the audience and do something different. And, you know, you can extrapolate that into the classroom as a principal, as a superintendent, or in life. You know, if something's not working out, you can sit around and complain about it, or you can do something about it.
So true, right? And I think too often we need this message in our life every day, especially I think when we go on the whole like, woe is me, I'm just going to complain about everything. And then it's like, okay, what do you have? Maybe you're not the DJ, but there's probably something within your realm of control. And if nothing else, you can control how do you respond to it. Right?
Absolutely.
Do I want to dance to this song or do I want to whine about it?
Exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, I love it. So, Joe, you know, it did make me LOL a few times too. And there were some times where I almost cried. Too.
Yeah, I'm not going to give a spoiler alert, but I do talk about some personal trauma that I've had in my life and how that's kind of shaped me, not just me, also my sister. You know, I'm one of 11, and I have a sister who passed away, and I tell her story. She was a teacher, and I tell about my own youth and some of the lessons I've learned from that. So
I think it's really important too that we have leaders like you that can share that vulnerability piece, and we understand that all of us are just real people trying to make it. Doesn't matter what our role or status is. We're just real people with real issues trying to navigate this world, right? And so, yeah, I agree with you, Sean. It's a fast read. If you are looking for something, like you're on spring break, you're just looking for something to read that's going to motivate you, that's going to give you some of those moments of LOL, like Dave talked about, and those moments where you might be a little teary, it's a great book. I love this book so much. And so, Joe,
yeah, that's my dog Frankie. Everybody, he's my best. Frankie, come here. Frankie's my best buddy, and Frankie has his own Twitter account also. He's
look at him.
Yeah. Oh, that's old enough. Frankie's he is my pal, and Frankie Friday. Every Friday, it's Frankie Friday at work, and I bring him in, and he lightens the mood a little bit.
I love it. I love all the great things you do at your school too. And one of the things that we talked about maybe sharing on this show was how you started a key communicator program. I'd love to learn more about that. And we could always use some tips on how to be a better communicator. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, my story is this. I became a superintendent on November 1st, and anybody in the education world knows that, man, that's a really weird time for a superintendent start. You know, that's typically an August 1 job. Well, I was an assistant superintendent in my district, Nordonia, and we had failed levy after levy after levy. The state was getting ready to take us over. We had laid off 130 employees. And the reason was the community didn't trust us. They did not trust the educators, and the superintendent, for lack of a better phrase, got run out of town. There were people writing letters to the editor that we are not going to vote for anything until we get a new superintendent. And so it became really clear to me on that October evening when he walked into my office and said, "Hey, I hope you're ready to be superintendent. I'm resigning tomorrow." That I need to rebuild trust with the community. And the way I did that, a big way that I did it, was through this key communicator program. This key communicator program, I got the framework from a book by Jamie Vollmer called "Schools Cannot Do It Alone." Great read. And really, it had me doing two things. One was I invited every leader in our community I could think of. So we're talking about elected officials, priests and ministers, PTA parents, booster club presidents, Lions Club, the big companies in town. I invited about 150 people to a meeting to ask them if they would be my key communicators. And I wanted them to do two things for me. One, will you please invite me to your group? I want to go onto your turf and let me ask you three questions. What do you like about Nordonia? How can we improve? And what do you expect out of me, the superintendent? And then the second thing I asked them to do was, can you please be part of an email chain? So anytime something happens, I can shoot you guys are the leaders in the community. I'm going to shoot you an email So you see it before the news gets it. So if there's a bus accident, I'm going to send a note to you saying, hey, we had a bus accident today. Nobody was hurt. The bus was delayed about half an hour. The other driver was cited, etc. I get that out to them. They know it. They feel like, hey, I'm important to I'm getting an email from the superintendent to tell me about a bus accident before they see it on the news. And then they share it with all of their folks. And what that really did was, because I would share good news, but I would share bad news, so it really built that level of trust that I'm transparent, I'm vulnerable, and I'm going to let people know what's going on. So nobody ever felt like they were out of the loop. But I think that really helped rebuild that trust.
I think that's so true. And, I've always heard if you want the right story told, then you have to tell it from your own mouth, right?
Tell it first and tell it, tell it honest.
Tell it first and make sure everybody hears it. And so what is, a way that I've seen other districts, and even in my last district, one way to get super clear communication out to our people within the system, not necessarily the community, was using YouTube. I would record the message so everybody got to hear it from me, and then they could replay it 1,000 times if they wanted to, but it was the same message. It wasn't like me traveling across different places and losing stuff in translation, because everybody hears what they want to hear. So I love the idea of having those key communicators that you went ahead and got the message out to them from you first, and then how they translated it or how they ever saw it in the news, they're like, oh yeah, we already heard about that.
The tool might change. The tool might change, but it's that trust, that trusting relationship that stays the same. And then the other thing, again, when I went out, and so I went out to all these groups also, and those 3 question meetings were just as important. What do you like about us? How can we improve? What do you expect out of me? Because I took all of that data and we used that to build our strategic plan. And I think my advice to anybody watching would be, I think vulnerability is a key word I use in my book, and I say all the time that if you are going to ask people for their input, you have to be willing to take it, right? You can't go to a meeting and say, what do you think we need to do to improve? And then when they tell you, say, I disagree with you. You have to say, tell me what you want me to do. What kind of leader do you want me to be? And this is how we're going to lead this district. After all, the schools belong to the community, right? I'm an employee of the schools. I happen to be the superintendent, but my title gives me more responsibility, but I'm not better than anybody else. We are all working together for those 3,600 kids that walk through our doors every morning.
Yes. I appreciate the way you said that too, where the school belongs to the community. I think sometimes we forget that for some reason and we leave them out, and we're trying to maybe shelter or not share things until we have it all lined out properly. But, when it goes to communication, this is so random, but it reminds me a little bit about being a waitress. You're talking about your DJ days. I was a waitress in college, but, sometimes if I just told the table, your food is coming. It's just a little delayed in the kitchen, but I promise it's coming. It will be hot. It's going to be ready. Rather than just ignoring them and just waiting until it finally came and then bringing it to them, well, then they're just festering, getting frustrated, just blowing up out of proportion. By the time you get there, they're angry. Buying yourself that little bit of time. I mean, by communicating to those people beforehand, and they already know what's coming, then I feel like you not only build trust, but you kind of they know that they're ahead of the game. They know what's coming.
The other thing that I do with my key communicators is, and I say this all the time, the 5 most important words for an administrator: I'm sorry, I was wrong. Whenever we mess up, I let the key communicators know, hey, I messed up. You know what? We should have had a snow day today. I messed up that call. I apologize. This is why I made that mistake. I'm sorry. I'll do better next time. But that goes a long way. People just prefer honesty to trying to defend everything,
So true. And like you said, it's vulnerable, but it's worth it. In the end, it's always worth it to be real. I'm not really pushing my message, but I do believe it. And I believe people respect it, even if it's bad news. Like,
Yeah.
even if you have to share bad news.
Yeah. And we've had our share of bad news. You'll read about some of that in my book. Yeah.
Dave said there's so many opportunities for feedback that are really kind of fake in some systems. I couldn't agree more, honestly. Do you find this as well, Joe?
Yeah. I mean, frankly, I hear, other superintendents talk about it that, oh, we're going to, I'm not going to read email, or I'm going to do a survey, but I already know what I'm going to do, or any of those kinds of things. It has to, I just can't stress enough. If you're going to ask advice from people or ask for feedback, you have to have the vulnerability to give up ownership, right? You have to trust that you have really smart people working for you or in the community that are going to make good decisions. And the truth is this: when you allow somebody to take leadership or take ownership and run with the problem, they don't want to look foolish. So if they find out that it's a bad idea, they're going to stop, So I think really our job as school leaders is just to help good teachers, good principals stay out of their way. Let them do the professional work that they are trying to do. And how can I help you? How can I support that?
Yeah, one of the things, it reminds me a lot of one of the things my last superintendent told me when he hired me. I remember just being super insecure about taking that role in the district administration. I was new. I was a rookie admin, and I felt really uncomfortable. And I just kept questioning everything, everything. And I would ask him, like, hey, what about this? What do you think about this? And I remember one day he just told me, hey, I hired you to do a job. Like, I fully trust that you've got this. Now, if you need support, I'm here. But don't question everything that you do. Like, I believe you. You survey the teachers, you get the message back, you take that and you mold however you deliver that professional development or whatever it is that you're doing, rolling out this resource, whatever it is. I believe in you. You come in here and you be sure of yourself because I hired you to do a job. And I think if we're asking for feedback, we need to be thinking like that. We hired these people to do the work. Then we need to trust that they know what's best for their learners. And
absolutely,
I would take that even a step further. If you're in the classroom and you're surveying your kids,
amen, right?
Listen to them. I mean, there are end users. Without them, we haven't a job, right?
Exactly right. And so this whole, I talk again, I'm a superintendent. I see some of the comments going on. Is this a book for administrators or teachers or whatever?
Yeah.
And I don't talk a whole lot about the key communicators in this book. But what I would say is this too is something that you can extend to whatever role you play. If you are a teacher, you can certainly have your key communicators. You can absolutely do that. And it better include your students, and it better include some of your parents and some of your colleagues. It's so important. It's just so important that we communicate with everybody, that we don't let ego get in our way, that we're just we're all in it for the same goal. We want our kids to do great stuff, and when you let adult kind of emotions get in the way, that can gum it up.
So true. It's so true. So listen to your learners. Dave, yes, you're right. I've heard that message a couple of times, apparently. I remember writing about Scott talking about that. He called it the philosophy of trust. And he basically said, until you cause me to mistrust you, I trust you, period. I hired you. I trust you to do the job.
Well,
and
well, part of that is
give me a reason to mistrust you. I don't mistrust. I don't distrust you, But Dave said that kind of the same thing with this job. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Show me the way. Like, show me the rubric.
Well, part of it is my own dysfunction. Part of it's my own dysfunction. Being the youngest of 11, I grew up knowing how worthless I was. I'm joking, but
yeah.
You really, if you don't have a sense of humility when you're the youngest of 11, my brothers used to make me climb up a tree and then they'd throw baseballs at me, and I'm like, nothing's prepared me more for the superintendency than that kind of thing. But when you have a sense that, we're all in it together, you're no better than me. My title says that I am this, but come on, guys, we're all working together.
And I would say even in the classroom when I would survey the kids, That was very common. And we did it with these little note cards. They could put their comments and on these little note cards and with no name. Of course, I knew their handwriting. So back then it was way easier to tell.
Right.
But I learned so much from them. Like I was so open to it because a lot of times they had a better way that I could have delivered that lesson. Like they had better ideas than me many times. And besides that, because they gave that feedback, I put that little note card on the projector and said, you know, this one, I don't know who wrote this. Of course I did. But I love it. And so tomorrow we're actually going to implement this one into our lesson. So thank you to whoever wrote this. Well, then they're like, whoa, like my idea is, you know, they have some ownership, some excitement, some buy-in, if you will. I don't really like that word, but it works.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And, you know, I would say this also. I've found myself being very confident in a decision that I've made for years, and then later realizing, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. And I will find myself reaching out to people and say, you remember when I did this 5 years ago? I'm sorry. I thought it was smart. And I'm so much better now that I see that that was a bad decision in the classroom or as a principal or whatever, you know.
It's so fun. But I mean, those experiences teach us, right? So you don't want to trade anything because you learn something from it moving forward. So I love this conversation. I love any conversations that kind of center around being a better communicator. I just think all of us in the whole entire world could benefit from that. And if you are looking at If the Dance Floor is Empty, Change the Song, it is a book for any role. Like Joe said earlier, it doesn't really matter what role you're in. It fits. I've never been a superintendent and I loved every minute of it. And it's a quick read and it's not necessarily just for leaders. It's for anyone who is a human, honestly. It's just like the message. It just fits for life.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people telling me that they find it very uplifting and they laugh a lot and they do cry a little bit. And a lot of it is reaffirming and a lot of it is challenging. And it's just, but it is I think an easy read. And it's a great spring break read. It's a great summer read, you know.
Agreed. That's a book you could read by the pool and your brain is not like super overloaded with, I need to be taking notes right now so I can remember all this stuff. It's just it's kind of a feel-good read, but I feel like it helped me to develop new levels of empathy for people that I serve. And so I really appreciated that about your book.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Joe, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to, you know, and I've grown over my career too. There will be people that read this book who I was a teacher of maybe 29 years ago say, that is not Dr. Clark. That is Mr. Clark back then, you know. And that's what it's all part about, right? Growing, about reflecting and learning and just seeing, well, I can do something better. And you have to ask yourself every day, what can I do better? What can I do better?
It's so true. Yes, and Nick, you should bring it to the spa. It's a perfect.
It is a spa book. Absolutely, it is.
Spa book. I love it. I personally love those kind of books too because I don't have to be taking so specific notes. I don't really need my highlighter to like take all the notes everywhere. I can just like absorb it all. So good to have you, Joe, on the show. I really appreciate you. I appreciate what you stand for. And man, being the youngest of 11, you've done well. You're crushing it.
Thank you very much. We are proud of it. My parents neither went to college. All 11 of us are college graduates, a couple PhDs, a bunch of masters, and a bunch of educators. And we're a proud family, and it's a fun family. It's a fun and they give you a lot of stories. You get a lot of stories,
is what I'm saying. Yeah. I have one kid and I have a lot of stories, so I can't even imagine 11. First of all, salute your parents for raising 11.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, my mom's walking into heaven.
That's awesome. So, Joe, if people want to find you on social media, so where should they look? And if they're reading the book and want to like share their reflections with you, tell them a little bit about
it. Yeah, you know, you can find me on Twitter is my number one social media at Dr. Joe Clark at Dr. Joe Clark. I am also on Facebook. That's more of a personal thing, but you're welcome to friend me on Facebook, Dr. Joe Clark, not a doctor, and Instagram. I'm Dr. Joe Clark, but Twitter is the main thing, and I have a website. drjoeclark.com. I do a newsletter 2 or 3 times. Well, it's more of a blog. It's more of a printed blog. 2 or 3 times a month. You can subscribe for that for free at drjoeclark.com. But Twitter is the main place you'll find me.
Awesome. Well, y'all, you should connect with Joe. And if you've left a comment over in the comment section or you're watching this on the replay, be sure and drop your comments over there. We'll be choosing in the next day or so a winner. And you know what? That just reminds me. I don't know if I chose a winner last week. I'll be sure and choose a winner from last week too. We'll be choosing a winner though to win a free book of Joe's and a free book from last week too, if I didn't already do that. And make sure that if you didn't get chosen, no worries. Scroll up, click the link, order your copy today. If you're headed into spring break or you're looking for a good read for the weekend out on the lake, just chilling out, this is the book for you. It's going to inspire you, encourage you, and give you all kinds of great ideas for how to be just a better human in general. So thank you so much, Joe. We love having you as a part of the DBC fam.
Thanks, Tara. I appreciate all of you. You guys are just absolutely the best. I appreciate everybody logging in today to listen to us and to participate. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Bye, everyone. We'll see you next week. Same place, same time.
All right. Take care, all.